for college football. It's not really opening lines anymore, kind of like early lines, I guess you would call them, for Week 11. Do this every week, Tuesdays, about this time, 3:30-ish, we'd say. And it's opening night of college basketball season, so it's kind of a double thing. We went through a ton of games this morning. Hopefully you guys saw the live show. Really, it was just such an overload of information. It was just head scratching, the amount of information that we shared on that show, and kind of just different opinions. And it's always hard when a season first starts, because you're never 100% sure what you're going to see. And I think even in college football, there were some things that we thought we would see, that we're not seeing, and some things that we thought we wouldn't see that we are seeing. So, it just takes some time to shake out. And sometimes, the things that we thought we would see, it takes until the end of the year. And one of the examples that I always use, and, is Bruce Pearl and Auburn. Normally, he always has a guy that, he might or might not get in. And, last year it was Sharif Cooper. He got in, but it was like, 3/4 of the way through the season. This year he got his guy once again, but the guy got in, which is very rare for these situations, that he's in right out of the gate. So Auburn's going to be pretty stacked, because Bruce Pearl also works the transfer portal. And I know at Florida, where Ron's headed to the game tonight, they work the transfer portal as well, pretty hard this offseason. You think that, so I said, I led in this morning show, and of course I'll let you guys talk, but I led in this morning show and I said, this is going to be the greatest college basketball season in the history of college basketball. This will be the one that in 20 years and the rest of your life will say, yeah, but that 2021-2022 season was just the greatest season in the history of college basketball, and there'll never be a magical mix like that ever again. You have teams from all regions of the country that can take it all the way. That's the number one thing. Okay, you got the West represented. You got Gonzaga. You got UCLA. You got Kansas in the middle of the country. You've got Texas. You've got Auburn, Alabama, Kentucky. You've got the Big Ten represented. Purdue, Maryland, Ohio State, Michigan State, always going to be a factor. So many different teams here represent. Villanova from the Northeast. So you have teams from all over the country represented. Number two, it's Coach K's last year. Number three, it is it is a year where the seniors from last year. So the guys, college basketball is one of those sports where upsets do happen, and it happens from these teams of that play well as a team, of guys that not going to play at the next level. And the fact that they're allowed to come back and play, and they're gonna do it because they love the game, and a lot of guys, these guys wish they could stay when they graduate, and now they've got their wish, they get to stay for an extra year. So you're gonna see more of those teams like that, more Oral Roberts, more Morehead States that are going to be very, very tough outs, and throw in on top of that you're seeing a transfer portal system that's being thoroughly abused and not used in the intent that it was meant to be. And they're going to change this thing. And they're going to say, yeah, and the transfer portal was wide open and everything like that. So you have a magical set of elements this season that it's just, I don't think you'll ever see this ever again. Ron? And
Myron Jones from Penn State. I mean, he was killer at Penn State. He goes across to Gainesville now. I mean, there's just so many big names that because of this new transfer ruling, they get to play right away, and you get the fifth-year seniors at these mid-majors like HMIS that's, they're able to give it another go with their teams that they've played for years. So, yeah, I mean, this is going to be probably you're going to see the best talent in college hoops that we've seen.
Yeah, and it's just really spread across because it's so deep with the guys not leaving the teams. it's so deep and so spread across that you have teams from every region. It's not like, oh man, these guys are gonna have to go to the West bracket because we don't have a West team. It's these guys. There's the West teams are 1 and 2, to start the season. And I'll tell you what, I'll put Maryland against any of them right now. I think to me they're a team that can take on anybody, and I think that some of these other ones, I think we'll see what George Mason is made up of tonight, right out of the gate against Colorado State, and of course Kentucky now 10 deep for Calipari after last year's disappointing season. He's like, instead of doing my just 5 guys that can play, promise them all the playing time in the world, I'm just gonna get as many stars as I can and just throw them all on my roster and see if you can beat me. And that's what he's got, right? He's just stacked. So, this is going to be a great year. But we're talking college hoops just at the beginning. We always give people a couple minutes just to join us, make sure notifications, all that stuff go out. And we're going to go into college football. By the way, Joe Madden, hello.
Sorry, hi, how's it going? Can everyone hear me?
We didn't ignore you. Yes, we can hear you.
No. That's good. No, there was a couple issues with Ron's. I was reading Mike's message. Mike at first, but looks like everyone can hear him now, so
yep.
We're
if
all
you guys
good.
Can hear me, yep.
It's all my settings from. I had a soundboard problem yesterday, so it was all I had to configure a lot of the settings. So a lot of these different scenes, like when you see the 3 of us on one or 4 of us on one, I have to reconfigure the sound settings, and as we go. So that's what that is. Full transparency here, as always. I know you guys don't care. I know what you do care about, and that's college football. We got 3 games tonight. We went over these on the morning show, but Ron, do you have any opinion on any of these tonight? Action?
The one play that I was looking at as a free play almost made the premium was Ohio getting the points. Ohio, this was a really disappointing year for them. I expected pretty big things from this team going into the year, but just kind of fell flat in most spots. But I still think this is a pretty talented team, and Eastern Michigan, they do have a pretty loaded offense, but they give up points in bunches. So I just wouldn't want to be laying points with Eastern Michigan. I like them more as a dog, even at home. So I just think you're getting some value there by getting some points with Ohio.
Now, we saw the purple teams play each other in college football 2 weeks ago, and then in NFL last weekend, 2 purple teams. One of the games, the coach got fired. The next week, the game went to overtime in a massive comeback. Now you got 2 green and white teams playing here, so who the hell knows what's going to happen? It's like you got
mayhem.
You got 2 teams with the same colors. How about St. Joseph's against Maryland East Shore tonight? You got 2 teams named the Hawks with identical colors.
Yeah.
I say you stay the hell away from that. Stay the hell away.
Avoid it at all costs.
It's like, what do you think of this one? I don't even want to talk about it.
I think it's bad luck to even talk about. Just stay away from it.
Tomorrow night, we've got more action, though. We've got Northern Illinois, Ball State, Bowling Green, and Toledo, and Central Mich and Kent State. Some of these MAC teams like Ohio and other teams, they started slow, but now they're coming on at the end of the year. We see this every year, and that's what makes MACtion what it is. Any of these games tomorrow, have you had a chance to go under the hood of any of these?
Not too much, but I will say that I lean towards the over in that Kent State Central Michigan game. I know the total's 75. It's one of the steeper game totals you're going to see this week, but both teams love to work fast. The Kent State, they use the saying flash fast. They up-tempo offense, but Central Michigan, same thing. I think they're both near the top in plays per game. Both defenses are miserable, especially Kent State. So I just think the last team that has the ball is going to win that game, and I think you're going to see plenty of points.
Joe, any of these 3 for tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm with you on that over. As soon as we get up into those mid-high 70s, I love it over. We know we're going to have a high-scoring one. I'm also really liking Bowling Green plus the points. I think they stay tight with Toledo in this one. So, that should be a good game. I'm excited. I actually like watching Bowling Green play.
Well, Thursday and Friday, we're going to combo these things. We've got Pitt against North Carolina. We've got South Florida against Cincinnati, and then Boise against Wyoming. I don't know. To me, the blue turf in mid-November just really, it's kind of where I'm at. Don't adjust your sets. The field is blue.
Yeah, those are some tough games there. I kind of lean towards Wyoming and the points. Not in love with it, but I just think this is not the best Boise State team we've seen. It's kind of like a rebuilding year, kind of like that middle of the pack kind of year. Wyoming's defense is good enough, I think, to keep it close. And the total's pretty low, as we see 48.5. So that tells me it's going to be pretty low scoring, a tight game. I think points, getting 2 touchdowns is pretty valuable. So I lean towards the Cowboys, but I got to definitely take a deeper dive into those games.
Joe, any of these three?
Yeah, give me South Florida plus a point. Cincinnati hasn't been covering as of late. I think South Florida can keep it pretty close. This is a huge amount for Cincinnati to cover, especially when they haven't been. So I like that one.
Well, the guy who was offended by your offense sent me another email. So if you're in America, you should speak American. She's not.
I'll tell him I'm in
American,
Canada.
Dumbass. Dumbass. Anyways.
Wow, I just really now want to say it. I'm just gonna start posting the word on Twitter and everything. So
I think
anywhere that he sees it.
I smell an offense emoji. I just the letter O, just the letter O or OH with a fence. Offense.
Yeah.
I think that should be it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
Absolutely. I'm sorry if I offend him with my offense.
I was going to say something, but we're going to keep this PG-13 rated. Got Rutgers against Indiana on Saturday. This is a bad game. These teams are, both have the ability to get blown out at a moment's notice. We got Temple against Houston, which have been better games in the past, but I don't know if this year is going to follow up on this. Now, Northwestern Wisconsin is one of those games that I've been to one of those at Camp Randall, and I got to say it is not fun when Northwestern's bad, which they are here. So, yeah, I would say steer clear of that one if you're not a Badger fan. And then you have some good games early. Oklahoma, Baylor, Memphis, ECU, Louisville against Syracuse. We'll do the multiple Louisville pronunciations, of course, as normal. We'll do SMU, UCF, Alabama taking on New Mexico State, really tightening the belts there. Auburn against Mississippi State, Clemson against UConn. Woo, Alabama. You could watch Alabama, New Mexico State, and Clemson, UConn at the same time if you really want to. And then West Virginia against Kansas State, which should be a gem. Penn State, Michigan State. Why are all these games at noon? Florida taking on Samford. Whoa, Dan Mullen.
Watch out.
Dan Mullen going to be it'll be one of those games where he's acting like an idiot, yelling at his players, coaching up a storm up by 50 against an FCS team and talking about what a tough win it was. Ron, any of these games jump off the page at you?
Well, I actually have to ask. I don't have a line on that Florida game. Do you have a spread on that one?
No, there's no line out yet. It's even though it is a triple-digit rotation number. Let me see if I have one on my other source.
Okay. Well, one of the games I'm looking at is
no line on Florida, Samford, or Maine, UMass, or Bucknell Army on the 3-digit rotations.
You'll probably get one as the week goes on. I don't really have a side on that one. I just figured I'd see what it was. But in that Alabama New Mexico State game, it's an ugly one, and it's probably not going to get any of my money. But you look at this spread, 51.5 points. Woo! I mean, that's the steepest spread I've seen in a long time. I know it's Alabama, but you look at New Mexico State, they're a pretty good cover team, and their offense is at least feasible. I mean, they've been able to move the ball on most teams that they've played, and that's why they were covering spreads, even though they're 1-7 or 1-8 in the year. It doesn't take much to cover a 51.5 point spread. You get a touchdown and maybe a field goal, and that could be enough for New Mexico State. Their defense is terrible, so they're giving up 50 more points in this one. But I think that they can get a garbage time touchdown or two and catch the cover, getting so many points. So I like that. And I also like Houston laying the points at Temple. Like you said, this matchup's usually pretty good, but not this year. And this is the type of game where Houston, coming off a little bit of a rough game against South Florida, I think they get back to it. And they've been great on the road for some reason. Not really playing that good at home. But they're playing good at home, but not nearly as good as on the road. 44-7 over Rice, 45-10 over Tulsa, 40-22 over Tulane, and then last week's win against USF. So I'll lay the points with Houston over the worst team in the American, Temple.
Joe?
Yeah, we've got some really big spreads we're looking at in this time slot for sure. I'm leaning definitely on Army. We'll see what that line comes out completely as. I also like the over with Clemson and UConn. You know, we have a Clemson team that isn't looking the same as we're used to, but this UConn team really has struggled. I think they can still put up some points, and I think this line is a little bit too low. I think this game gets up into the mid 50s. So I like that one, and I'm with you on Houston. And then I'm looking at this Rutgers and Indiana game, and Indiana I think has to get this at home. Both these teams are terrible at covering against the spread, but one of them really has to do it this week, and I think with Indiana being at home, they'll get it done.
Yuck.
I know, right? But one of these teams has to come out on top.
I think it's going to be Kansas State that comes out on top against West Virginia. This West Virginia team is just a slop fest. I can't figure them out. Kansas State is it's all about the mistakes of the other team that make them go. And I see West Virginia making way too many mistakes for them to survive against this Kansas State team, which always seems to have that 5'1" running back that runs like a 4-flat 40. They had Darren Sproles. They got this guy now that they have the Deuce. I mean, they got even his backup is the same size. I mean, just a sprinter. So Kansas State just super tough. I think Penn State and Michigan probably going to be a defensive battle. I kind of like Penn State in that one against Michigan. And yeah, I have no faith in Louisville whatsoever. I like Syracuse there. I just have very little faith in them. It's personal. I know we didn't get to it yet, but in the 2 o'clock slot, I think Utah blows the doors off of Arizona, which leads us into the 2 o'clock slot. Rice, Western Kentucky, Arizona against Utah. Oof, that one could get uglier than ugly. Coastal Carolina, Georgia State, App State, South Alabama, Texas State, Georgia Southern, Texas Tech, Iowa State, Marshall, UAB, UTSA 9-0 on the season up against Southern Miss, Troy versus ULL, Louisiana Tech versus Charlotte, Florida State, Miami, Cal versus USC, Virginia Tech, Duke, Middle Tennessee, FIU. Butch Davis did not get fired after last week's game. Amazing. Old Dominion versus FAU, Iowa versus Minnesota, Tennessee, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Boston College, Ohio State, Purdue. Surprised that's not a night game. Ron, loaded.
Yeah, pretty loaded 3:30, 2 o'clock schedule. First game I'm looking at in that time slot is that Troy ULL game. I worry about Lafayette on the road here. You know, last week they barely got away with a win against Georgia State during the week. And Troy plays a real good defensive game. Their offense has picked it up as of late. It wasn't as strong in the beginning of the year, but they can run the football. The quarterback play has been okay. It hasn't been great, but their defense has really been solid. And I think you're going to see Louisiana struggle to move the ball. And I think Troy's going to win the turnover game as well in that one. So I think getting 7 points is pretty valuable. I honestly might sprinkle a little on the money line. I think Troy can win it outright. And the other play I'm looking at, do we get to the FAU Old Dominion game? I like laying the points with the Owls. FAU, disappointment last week, but they hung in there with Marshall for quite a bit. Marshall's a really good team. I think they're underrated. But Old Dominion, they've had their spots, but I don't think this is a good Monarchs team. They're still 3-6 on the season. They got a win over FIU, but who hasn't at this point? And their defense still has a lot of question marks, especially in the secondary. I think FAU's defense is going to be good enough here, and I think FAU gets a nice 10-point win. Should be low scoring, but I'll take the Owls.
Joe?
I'm liking App State to get the cover over South Alabama. I think what we're seeing out of their defense is going to be enough to shut down South Alabama's offense and make this a great game. I think App State can definitely do that. And in correlation with that, I'd be taking the over 56. I think that is too low here, especially if you're expecting an App State team to cover by this much, because South Alabama is going to get some points on the board. I see this hitting probably 40 to 18 sort of game. So give me the over 56 in that as well.
I like Miami against Florida State. I like the way the Canes are playing. I like them a lot. I like Cal against USC. I like Iowa State to blast Texas Tech. And Utah over Arizona. Arizona sucks. They just suck. They should not be that bad, you know?
Hey, they got a win last week.
They stink. I don't care. I have no faith in them whatsoever. No faith whatsoever. I'm looking for my Camp Randall from the Northwestern game. That's what I was looking for. I wanted to show everybody it on here. I know where it is. It's on my iPad, but can't find it here. Oh, well. I'll have to show it next week. But it was at the Northwestern game. Got the video of me doing the jump around Camp Randall.
Oh, really?
I like it.
It's awesome. I gotta find. That's what I was looking for on my phone. Yeah, it's classic.
Yeah, I gotta see that video.
Oh yeah, it's a good one. It's like because I was kind of like I knew the jump around was coming, and then you kind of just you know it like coming in. It's like, oh yeah, they're gonna do the jump around, and you're kind of like, oh yeah, you're watching the game, and it's kind of the course of the game, and then it's like they do it on third quarter, at the end of third quarter. So they have it. They have like on the board, and Bo Ryan was the basketball coach. And they had like him up on the big board, and he said something like, "All right, everyone, let's get whatever, jump around." And they're playing. It's like the whole place is going crazy. It's like, oh man, it was awesome. It's like you totally forget about it, and then it just kind of happens. It's like, whoa.
Be surreal.
Oh yeah, it's like 110,000 people. It's the stadium's actually gigantic, like gigantic. And everyone's doing it.
Amazing.
Doesn't matter. Both benches.
Yeah. That was pretty cool the first time they did it back after getting fans in the stands.
Yeah.
I tell you. Yeah.
But, those are the games for me during that slot. See if we have any questions out there. Let's see. Better bring me more money. Don't come on. Let's talk about the games today. Y'all talk too much about other stuff. Oh, no. I guess I screwed that up. I think you're talking about me. If you're going to talk basketball, the title should have been basketball, not football. Ouch, man. Buy the premium VIP and you will get tons of money. We can't hear you, Ron. Oh, this is way back on the comments. If Clemson doesn't beat UMass by 60, Sweeney should resign. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's actually probably looking at one of these other jobs. I could see him taking an NFL job. I could see it. But I would be
Clemson doesn't even play UMass.
No, they don't. But I don't know. I don't think I could see him taking an NFL job. I don't see him like taking the Alabama job I don't think Saban's going to be there much longer in Alabama. I don't
think so either.
I think they win it this year. I think he's gone.
Yeah, he's coming to Gainesville.
That's not happening.
No. We got Dan Mullen for longer than I want.
We'll fire our assistant coordinators. No news on the Odell Beckham Jr. watch either.
No, it's been pretty quiet the past couple days.
But Nick Chubb on the COVID list now.
Yep. And Felton, too.
It's Aaron Rodgers' fault.
They already got Kareem Hunt out, so they're going to be down to their fourth string. But Chubb and Felton are both vaccinated, so they just have to take a negative test before the game, and they'll be fine. They can play. But
what is 1 unit, and how many units do you bet per wager? A unit is just a set amount that you predetermined amount. It could be $1, it could be a dime, it could be $1,000, it could be $10,000. It's just a set amount, and then from that, it just depends on how much you like the game, how many units you put on it. I don't know. I'm not really like one of these big money management guys. I'm more of a degenerate gambler like you guys. I'm not gonna sit here and like you have the spreadsheet guys and stuff for like all the analysis and like this whole thing. It's just not how I do it. I mostly play alternate lines. So it's like I lost on the Steelers last night. I would have lost either way. At least I went down swinging. And I was certainly covering it. For a good portion of the game.
Absolutely.
But so what? I like alternate lines. Alternate lines and big payouts. Very hard to do it the other way. Anyway, speaking of alternate lines and big payouts, I like Miami against Florida State. I think you lay 10 in that thing. I also like Georgia against Tennessee laying about 40. I also like Purdue against Ohio State. Just take it all the way down to a touchdown. Ohio State, despite the 8-1 record and all that other stuff, their defense is still a sieve. I mean, it's not like they've solved those defensive problems. I mean, they're scoring more points, but Nebraska put 26-17 at Lincoln, 33-24 against Penn State, very average offense. They beat Indiana 54-7. Congratulations. So did Cincinnati. Beat the same Indiana team at Indiana. Same thing. They beat Maryland 66-17. Rutgers 52-13. Akron 59-7. Does that even count? Tulsa 41-20. They did not cover. Lost to Oregon. I don't see it.
Yeah, they haven't looked good this season at all.
No,
not right. One bit.
You're right, Joe. They do stink and are overrated.
They are my team, and I can say they actually are really stinking this season. All Completely agree.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, the rest of their schedule is pretty daunting, so we'll see if they can run the table.
Let's get back to some action here. Speaking of not running the table, Michigan State taking on Maryland. Michigan State will get a crack at the Bucks next week.
Yep.
Purdue, Michigan State, Michigan rounds out the schedule for Ohio State. So they'll have a chance to earn some respect. Tulane, Tulsa. Ugh. All you can ask is why. UNLV versus Hawaii. ULM versus Arkansas State. Probably a better game than we thought it was going to be. I think ULM 4-5. Man, imagine if they get to a bowl game. Will they get new uniforms? Oregon State versus Stanford. Vandy versus Kentucky. That is another one that's a problem. Texas A&M against Ole Miss. This one looks suspicious. Texas A&M only laying 2.5 in that one. Washington against Arizona State. Colorado State versus the Force. Fresno, New Mexico. Wake. We'll skip that one. All right. Any of those, Ron?
Yeah, I'm looking at that Tulsa-Tulane game. Tulsa, they only
don't look too long. I think you turn to stone, right? Isn't that the way it works?
Listen. This is my type of game. I got Golden Hurricanes team coming off a really good game against Cincinnati. I think they get a nice win on the road against Tulane. Just a really disappointing Tulane team. And that Arkansas State game, the ULM Arkansas State. ULM, they're fine and dandy as a dog, but I don't think anybody wants to lay points with them, and even against Arkansas State. So Arkansas State's defense is miserable, probably the worst in college football, and a couple teams could say an argument about that. But Arkansas State can still move the ball. They have the transfer from Florida State, a quarterback, I'm forgetting his name right now, I think Blackman. And they've been able to put up some points. So I think that ULM is going to get in trouble here. And the total's really steep for a reason. So I like Arkansas State in the points. I also like Ole Miss as of now. That line does look a little strange, so I'll have to take a look at that as the week goes on. But I watched that entire A&M Auburn game, and really I had A&M laying the points, but it didn't even seem like they won that game by 6.5 or whatever it was, 4.5. The offense looked miserable all game, and I'm not too confident in their quarterback play. I think Ole Miss is just the type of team that can blow them out at home. So I'll take the points with Ole Miss right now. But that line does look a little strange. So
Ole Miss
in the
got
end, I might
lucky to cover against a lousy Liberty team. Lousy that lost to ULM. They got lucky to cover an interception at the end of the game. They were driving right down the middle of the field, carved them up in the second half. I'm not with you there. I like Texas A&M. Ole Miss sucks. Lane Kiffin's not a good coach. Bad. I also like Michigan State against Maryland. Beat the crap out of them. Joe, what do you think?
Do we have Army in this time slot? Because I'm liking Army over Colorado State.
No,
this one.
No, but we
No?
could. We could.
We could add it. I just like what I've been seeing out of not Army, Air Force. I think Air Force.
We have Air Force in this one.
Yeah, I really do like what I'm seeing out of Air Force. Looking at this Colorado State, they've let me down so much. They're 4-12 straight up in their games. I think this Air Force, it's a low spread. I think they can definitely get it done. 4-2 against the spread in the last 6 games.
You look at the evening slate of games and you wonder why they don't move that Ohio State, Purdue, or like Baylor, Oklahoma, or one of those Michigan versus Penn State or something. Florida State, Miami, even to that late game, and it's just crapola. NC State versus Wake, Virginia versus Notre Dame. That's gonna be the game, probably, right? Texas against Kansas, yuck. LSU, LSU, Arkansas, TCU, OSU, UCLA, Colorado, San Jose State, Utah State, San Diego State, Nevada, and Oregon, Washington State. Yuck.
Yuck. Yeah, this is a real bad college football card.
Well, I think during the day it's a good one, but I think this night one is it's hideous.
Yeah.
I wonder what's the HBO movie.
At least we got college hoops.
Yeah. Well, I wonder what the card is on Saturday because Friday's a loaded card.
Yeah, it usually takes a little while before we get those loaded Saturday cards.
But Friday night's actually a loaded college basketball card. So it's like, I'm wondering if it's tournaments.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Because the card is so loaded on Friday. Any of these games do it for you?
Let's see. I mean, I'm just not my favorite card. I like San Jose State laying the points against Utah State. I tread lightly on this one, but I do think San Jose State, they have Starkel back at quarterback, and I think that was a big difference. Utah State, they were down by 6 against New Mexico State last week at halftime. Their offense picked it up in the second half, but Logan Bonner, he's a little bit inconsistent and has a few misses. He throws a lot of interceptions, and I think if you give San Jose State the advantage in the turnover battle, they'll definitely take care of business. So I like San Jose State at home laying the points, but again, this is just, to me, one of the worst nightcaps of college football we've seen in quite a bit.
Well, they're up against Michigan versus Prairie View A&M in college hoops, so that could be part of what they're trying to avoid. And then at 10:30 p.m. on Saturday night, in the degenerate betting time slot, Texas Gonzaga. So
that'll be a good one.
Yeah, I mean you have back-to-backers. You got the Michigan Prairie View A&M, and then Texas Gonzaga. So that it's on the Michigan Prairie View A&M, of course, neutral site game.
That's a good game.
Yeah, well, it's a neutral siter.
Where is it? Oh, Washington D.C.
Yeah.
Hey, how many points do you think my Panthers will be getting in that one?
Probably 26.5.
I'll take the points with the Panthers.
This
is a tournament team.
What do you think about Dixie State? So Rod and I had this discussion this morning.
The Trailblazers.
I'm in a hat. I'm in a hat for this one. Dixie State against Gonzaga. 40.5.
Too many points. Dixie State is not too bad. I don't think they should be 40-point dogs in any game this year. And I mean, this is like a really good Gonzaga team. I mean, obviously it is, but like this one especially. I think they have a better team this year than they did last year. But I think it's also a lot of new faces, so I think you're going to have to see a little bit of a rusty period, for a little while. But Dixie State is not too shabby, and I think they came into Division I last year, and they had an okay season. So too many points.
Do you think that the fact that Rod went back to the hat store and got a new Gonzaga hat kind of takes away from the burning? Well, they are ranked number 1, so he's got to be all aboard, right? So it's like, he's got the Kansas hat waiting, but he is on Gonzaga. The bandwagon, they're ranked number 1 in the country. They got the number 1 recruit in the country. They got the player of the year. It's a lot of bandwagon to jump on there. So he's got the Gonzaga hat going.
Yeah, that bandwagons keep rolling. Zags. I always liked Gonzaga when I was a kid. They were one of my favorite teams, but I don't know. I think he should find a new bandwagon. It's no fun to rooting for Gonzaga. Get like one of those sleeper teams.
Oh, and the other one was so Bitler likes Mississippi Valley State plus the 43.5 against St. John's.
Yeah, somebody just asked me if I was taking that. I don't have the stomach to, but I will say, I told Ruflo in the chat room, this is the best Mississippi Valley State team we've seen in a while, and that does not say much. That doesn't say much, but you know what? I think that they will finish ahead of a few teams in the SWAC this year. So whatever that's worth. But St. John's is actually a pretty good team this year too. So I don't know. That's a lot of points, but MSVS is known for losing by 60, 70 points in non-conference.
Yeah, well, another team that's hideous in non-conference, especially in season openers, is Oakland, playing at West Virginia tonight. Remember the Xavier game, right?
Yep.
So they play at West Virginia tonight, who also has 2 gigantic transfers that Huggins landed, 2 shot blockers on defense. What do you think of this one, Morgantown?
Yeah, I actually watched the Oakland, exhibition game against Eastern Michigan, and Oakland looked pretty good, I will say. The score line didn't show it, but they did look pretty good. They have some shot makers and playmakers as well. I think that how many points did you say was that? 17?
17.5.
17.5. Yeah, I would. It's a stay away from me, but I do think we know Oakland, man. Every season they just started so flat, and then they come back. They usually bounce
because they
back,
have to start over. Their whole team transfers every year.
Yeah.
Oladipo transferred to Pitt.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. They had the 10 freshmen last year. They had 10 freshmen last year because everyone had transferred in the portal, and now their top 6 from last year all went in the portal. And Oladipo, it looked like he was like teetering that he might possibly come back, and then he's at Pitt all of a sudden.
Yeah, I'd lean Oakland, but I think tread lightly today. There's a lot of these spreads that are kind of like borderline. I think the bookmakers got a lot of these spot on today. Yeah, because they've had so much time to think about it. But
they're underway. It's Washington State crushing Alcorn State, and Manhattan, the Jaspers, all over Manhattanville, playing for that Manhattan title there. So it's Manhattan versus Manhattanville. The other one that they refused to put a line on for us, besides the Middle Tennessee Brescia game, is there's Bradford is playing Emory and Henry, which they made up the name before the game. And the other one that I was really interested in, who was playing Earlham? Someone's playing Earlham.
Earlham.
Yeah, someone's playing Earlham.
I know Winthrop's playing Mary Baldwin.
Yeah, someone is playing Earlham. It's let's see. Yes, Purdue Fort Wayne, the Mastodons, taking on Earlham to get the season started. Yeah,
and Northern Kentucky's taking on Wheeling Jesuit.
You think these are actual schools, or you think they make up? Oh, and my favorite one of the day, Campbell taking on William Peace. Peace out. Joe has to learn like all of our little names, all of our college basketball names. She's
I'd be so confused.
Incarnate Word Up.
Yep.
Yeah, Word Up. That whole Southland Conference, did you see what happened? They most of those teams went to the WAC. Stephen F. Austin and Abilene Christian. They all went to the WAC.
How about
So-
so is the WAC now considered a
Mid-major.
Are they? Wow.
I would say so. I
From
mean, you
nowhere.
got New Mexico State.
From
Yeah.
nowhere.
I mean, that's not a powerhouse, but that's out of the smaller conferences, the WAC, because they took the cream of the crop from the Southland. Now the Southland is one of the worst, if not the worst, in college hoops. So you brought in Lamar, Abilene Christian, Stephen F. Austin, and Sam Houston State. So some big names there. I mean, New Mexico State's usually really competitive. And then also they really care about their reputation because they're kicking out Chicago State at the end of this year. Chicago State has no idea where it's playing next year.
Yeah, we faded them today just for the sake of it.
It's the Tommies.
Yeah. Why not? Howard taking on the District of Columbia, the whole district.
Watch out for Howard this year. The MEAC.
Well, didn't they have the number one guy last year?
Yeah, they did. They canceled their season.
What happened to him?
I don't know. I don't really know. But yeah, he was a top prospect, and he decided to go to Howard. But I don't think he even played. Or if he played like one game. He was waiting to play, I think, for conference play, and then they just canceled the whole season anyway. But
yeah, it's always these odd schools playing at this time of year against the heavyweights. It's just like, oh, I'm going to the game. Awesome, man. Who they playing? Bruton Parker. Who? Bruton Parker College. Where's that? No idea. It's like.
And the funny thing, most of these games are on ESPN Plus.
I know.
Like people are going to actually tune in.
Fisher College stepping into the spotlight against Bryant.
Well, watch out for Bob Jones University.
I like this one. Because I know Florida International University, but there's now Florida National University. They take on Florida Gulf Coast. Yep. It's like they're Florida International, Florida National. That's such a Miami thing. It's like anywhere you go where it says like of America in Miami, nobody talks English. It's like you says America, nobody is going to talk English. That's for sure. But anyways, Wiley taking on Lamar. Yeah, it's step up night. We went through all these this morning. Anything to add about college football or tonight's college hoops?
Not much. I mean, I'm a big college hoops guy, and I like those small conferences, as you guys will hear me say plenty of times, the SWAC, MEAC. But I'd say, you hear this all the time as the cliche, tread lightly, tread lightly. I think it's two reasons. One, you don't know the new teams. Obviously, a lot of transfers, and you got to see how these teams play. But also, there's just not much value on the board. There's a lot of spreads that are in the 20s, 30s. So you just can't really find too much value unless you really like a dog getting the points. And there just wasn't that many spots here for me, at least. So just tread lightly, and it's going to be a big season. Don't go broke on the first week.
Where is Bob Jones University at? Is that in South Carolina, or is that the one? Bob Jones University. Because I'd like to get Bittler a shirt. Yep.
Greenville, South Carolina.
Yeah, I think I passed by it because I went and looked at Furman when I was looking at college. They didn't let me in, but I went and looked at it. But I remember passing Bob Jones University. I'd like to get Bittler a shirt. BJU.
He needs that.
The Oral Roberts hat on.
Yeah, he should be wearing the Bob Jones U. BJU, because it's like super biblical. It's like they'd be super offended by it.
Love it.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. We're regressing in a hurry. It happens. But we appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great day. We'll be back tomorrow for the Office Pool show. So be sure to put your... Yeah, it is. Look at this. I typed in Bob Jones University Bookstore, and it came up BJU Bookstore. I swear.
Mm.
Oh, boy. This could be real trouble. This is not good for us.
You're a public figure, Mitch.
Search books and merchandise. T-shirts. Oh, I typoed it. And they couldn't figure it out. Bob Jones T-shirts. BJU. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. We'll get on this thing. We'll get Bitler a Bob Jones University shirt. Oh boy. Could get ugly. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.